Most political observers would consider this a difficult race to win.
Right.
Why'd you decide to get into it and challenge Angus King?
Well, I think that our country is not headed in the right direction. I think economically we've had a lot of issues here in the state of Maine. And I mean, I think most of us feel that change is needed. So Senator Collins gave me a call on Martin Luther King Day. I still remember it to this day in January, and said, you know, I think that you should consider running for U.S. Senate. And I put some thought behind it. And I admire Senator Collins, and I thought to myself, maybe this is something that I should be doing. And I said, she gave me a week. By the end of the day, I said yes.
Was it surprising to receive that call? She and Senator King have been aligned on many issues over the years. Of course, they've faced off at different moments as well. But I know that a spokesperson for Senator King said that he was disappointed by that. Did it take you by surprise?
That, yeah. I don't know the inner workings of the Senate. I don't know their relationship. I mean, I only know what's going on in Maine and what I hear in Maine. And I think, like a lot of people think, that, you know, maybe change is needed. There's nothing wrong with change. And I think she was thinking that, you know, I would be a great candidate.
And you have said that you want to retire Angus King. I know that you've been critical of what he has been able to achieve at Washington, D.C., or at least in your view, the lack thereof.
The lack thereof.
We know that there's a lot of gridlock in Washington.
Yes.
Is there any legislation you feel like you yourself could spearhead and get it through Congress and signed by the executive branch?
My issues that I think I would like to spearhead is access to care issues. I'm in healthcare. I think we have a huge problem. I'm faculty to UNE Dental School. I've trained 25 dentists to become, you know, fourth-year dental students to become dentists, and have all graduated. Only a fifth of those 25 have even been able to stay in the state, and that's because economically our state is going through some very difficult times. And housing is a humongous issue that hasn't been addressed well enough. Energy costs are too high. When you're opening dental practices, it's very expensive in Denver. And I think our state has not done enough. We're an older state. We need more healthcare providers in the state, and we're going to have rationing to care. So that's really a #1 issue for me.
What kind of federal legislation you think could help with, you pointed out a couple of things, in expanding healthcare? We know it's so hard to find a provider of any kind in our state, and also housing. Is there legislation in the works, or anything you feel like you could put pen to paper on to move the ball forward?
You know, I haven't gone into the details of all the legislation that's out there. But I can tell you, I will be doing that. Anything that's going to help Mainers, I'm going to be 100% supportive of and be involved with, or author a bill to do this. But I do think that the federal government can provide maybe incentives for healthcare providers to stay in the state. Maybe no income tax for the first, 2, 3, 4 years while they're paying back their loans. Maybe helping pay back some of those loans. These kids are graduating with $600,000, $700,000 in debt, and to come back to the state of Maine, have to pay $10,000+ a year on top of looking for a place to live and probably needing to buy a new vehicle.
Yeah.
So it's a huge burden, and we don't put enough incentives there to keep our providers in state. It's a humongous problem.
We just passed the 2-year anniversary of the Dobbs decision. Can you clarify your stance on abortion? And I'm curious where you stand. Senator Collins, who you're aligned with on some issues, she introduced co-sponsoring a bill that would codify protections of Roe v. Wade. Would you support that?
And I can't remember, and I didn't read the bill closely.
Essentially would allow abortions up to viability.
To viability, and I stand with Susan Collins on that. I value all life. Everybody that knows me, I'm very compassionate and I care. I myself have gone through some very difficult pregnancies, high-risk pregnancies, miscarriages. So I've been in that side of the woman health issue that I think is important. I believe in choice. I believe in what Senator Collins believes in. I do think late-term abortion, if the baby is viable. I think that maybe abortion is not maybe the right word, but maybe consider delivery and maybe do a better job with adoptions and have better legislation to allow for more adoptions. But I stand with her and I agree with her way of thinking. So I am pro-choice. Again, up to viability, at which point we should be talking about, adoption.
You talk about valuing life. Another area where this has really come into the realm is fentanyl. Southern border, I would like to ask you about that as well. Sort of a separate issue, but in terms of the drug addiction, substance use disorder crisis, is there anything that you feel like you could do at the federal level to combat that?
Well, I have to be honest and tell you, I got involved in politics because my youngest, who's comfortable with me saying this, went to college and became addicted himself, and we spent 2 years at a sober living environment for him to get clean. He's not ashamed to talk about it. He is now healthy, but so many other parents didn't have the luck I had.
Yeah.
True luck, I mean, in a lot of ways. I understand it so well. It crosses all, demographics, addiction does. We lose 73,000 people a year die of just fentanyl, 110,000 die of addiction. And we as a society have done nothing. We should be stopping fentanyl at the border.